Okay, guys, here we are. Here we are live on the Beck Believes channel. I was having a little bit of Wi-Fi difficulty, but thanks for hanging with me. And first off, before anything else, just want to shout out the Pokemon Direct today announced that the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, the Sinnoh region remakes, are going to be released later this year. So hence my shirt with the state of Kentucky and a Pokeball. And Pokemon Day 25th anniversary actually is tomorrow. So there's a virtual concert I'll be attending tomorrow night. So just want to get that out of the way. Do also have my trainer hat here, but it was casting a shadow on my face, so not going to wear that right now. But guys, do we have a lot to talk about today? And I don't know if you could tell, I'm kind of shaking with anticipation because I am so emotional about this topic. I was talking to my parents and actually my husband too, and I said, you know what? I've not felt this this drive of seeing something and instantly knowing, oh my gosh, here's how I feel about it. I have to share this. I have to go live. And that is exactly what happened yesterday when I came across this right here, which you don't have to read it right now. It's a stupid little Instagram post from Gwyneth Paltrow. And before I get into all of the things here, before I get into every little point that we want to cover here today, I want to give a few disclaimers. Number one, this video may be triggering for anyone who has dealt with an eating disorder or disordered eating. I purposely never talk about numbers. I purposely never include any obviously triggering talk in what I'm talking about. As with the nature of the subject, though, it's sensitive. So unfortunately, I can't predict what every trigger for everyone would be. So I just wanted to get that out there. I'm not a medical professional, but I'm kind of experienced 18 years of dealing with disordered eating. So I know a little bit about that. So just wanted to get that disclaimer. The next disclaimer, I am not attacking Gwyneth as a person. I will say I'm a little embarrassed to admit how often I have defended Gwyneth in the past. However, I also know that in my own journey, I've had so many chronic health issues, and I have had to get into the world of integrative medicine, functional medicine, and there is some good stuff to offer in that world. That said, this book written by Dr. Will Cole, who is not technically a doctor, not a medical doctor, not a DO. He is a chiropractor, and I love chiropractors. My chiropractor, when I need him for things, he's amazing. I have high respect for chiropractors. However, it is not the chiropractor's place to give you advice to starve yourself, assuming that they know your nutritional needs. It's not their place. So if you couldn't gather from that, we are discussing the book Intuitive Fasting. And I use quotes because that title is so tone deaf, which we'll get into in a minute. But the book was released by Will Cole just a few days ago, I believe. And Gwyneth, as you saw in that post, is promoting it. And she's like the big celebrity endorser of it. And there are a few other celebrities that I'm kind of disappointed in that I saw commenting on her post saying, yeah, I can't wait for this. Can't wait to see this book. And I'm just thinking, guys, this ain't it, sis. Or, you know, we're talking to Will Cole. This ain't it, chief. So let's get into this here. First of all, for anyone who is not familiar with intuitive eating, I just want to give a little bit of an overview of that. And in videos in the future, I will be going more in depth into the details of intuitive eating, the specifics of the process, how it all goes. I'm hoping to, at some point, take you along with me on my own intuitive eating journey when I'm at a place where I don't have to medically follow certain guidelines myself for chronic diseases. But anyway, intuitive eating, the quotes, it was coined, and then the whole process was kind of created by Evelyn Tribole. Honestly, I should have looked up how to pronounce her last name. I never have confirmed it, so sorry about that. Tribole is how you spell it. And her book actually is the book titled Intuitive Eating, and reading straight from something she wrote, the purpose of intuitive eating is to cultivate a healthy relationship with food, mind, and body through self-connection. Things a scale can never measure. It is a self-care framework which integrates instinct, emotion, and rational thought, and a weight-inclusive, evidence-based model with a validated assessment scale and over 140 studies to date. And biggest thing about this is it is an extremely helpful approach for those in eating disorder recovery or who are just dealing with disordered eating or who have fallen victim, as so many of us have, to the diet culture in which we live. So, intuitive eating, now we got that basic, the general definition there out of the way. Some things that it is not. Intuitive eating is not fasting or keto. That's not what it is. Those are specific restrictive diets. We're going to get more into details later, just going through a list here. It's not fasting. It's not keto. Intuitive eating is not your cheat day. Cheat day. Intuitive eating is not aligned or authorized for use with any weight loss food plan or program, whether it's Zoom or not Zoom, my goodness, Noom, Weight Watchers, any program that have food rules for the purpose of shrinking your body or kind of disconnecting you from it. It is not counting macros, points, or food groups. It is not a diet. It is not something you can cherry pick one or two principles of and then slap the label intuitive on it and call it a day. Doesn't work that way. What intuitive eating is, however, on the other end, is like we said, it is an evidence-based self-care eating framework with over 140 studies to date. It is far more nuanced than just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. It is a dynamic interplay of, like we said, instinct, rational mind, and emotion. And it is about bringing pleasure back to the eating experience and connecting with your body. Whatever your body is going through, connecting with it, not trying to disconnect from whatever struggles you are going through. Let's see, the self-connection. Yeah, a self-connection journey of learning and discovery. It is not a pass or fail quest. There are 10 principles, which are guideposts, which I'll go over in another video because that is a video in and of itself. I might do a video for each of those 10 principles because they are so in-depth. But there are 10 principles which kind of guide the whole process. And you and only you get to decide what tastes and feels good to your body. Now, caveat being, of course, if you are in recovery or you deal with disordered eating and you're working with a doctor or a dietitian or a nutritionist and they have given you a specific meal plan or guidelines, follow that. Follow your meal plan. Always follow your meal plan because the professionals know better than your disorder. That's just how it is. And you know how I know that? Because I learned from experience. Yeah. I'm already having trouble catching my breath, guys, because this is intense stuff. We haven't really gotten into it. Okay, so let's see. Intuitive eating, a couple other notes about it. It's an integration of mind-body knowledge, recognizing that life gets hectic and busy at times. And sometimes, for example, like your lunch break might be before you're physically hungry, and that's okay because it's where your knowledge in your mind comes in about, okay, I ate already. I don't necessarily feel super hungry, but I know my body needs nourishment. My car needs gas. My body needs nourishment. I got to give it that nourishment, even if I don't physically feel hungry, because when you have a history of disordered eating or you're just stuck in diet culture, a lot of times you're out of tune with your hunger cues as well. So you can't always trust them at the very beginning as far as not feeling them, because you know you have to feed your body at least 3 times a day for meals and ideally 2 or 3 times snacks as well, especially when you're re-normalizing your hunger cues. However, with intuitive eating, there is no like limit on all of that. And again, can't get into those details right now, but I definitely recommend checking out the book Intuitive Eating. And there's a whole lot of people online, and I'm going to share some later that talk about this. You can go see on Instagram and on YouTube. But if you would like to see those videos on intuitive eating, they're going to be coming up on this channel in future days. Go ahead and let me know below, or just hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified when they come up, especially if you turn on that notification bell. But here's the thing. Intuitive eating is, let me see here, hold on. What's going on with this intuitive fasting thing is diet culture decided that they get to co-opt intuitive eating and food freedom. What? First of all, guys, okay, intuitive fasting. Let's just talk about how that doesn't make sense. Checking the chat real quick. Sorry, see. Oh, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank you. I'm so glad you're enjoying the content. I really appreciate you stopping by the channel, always, everyone. So let's get into the couple quick definitions real quick. We're going to define intuitive, and then we're going to define fasting, and we're going to see if we can get them to work. We can't. So intuitive. Intuitive means spontaneous, without requiring conscious thought. Let me repeat that since I am stumbling all over my words. Intuitive means spontaneous without requiring conscious thought. Remember when we talked about intuitive eating, it was about connecting with your body and mind, body, emotion, thought, rational mind, connection, all of that. Okay. So that's in the intuitive part. Fasting, however, is the willful refrainment from eating, the willful restriction of certain macros or food groups or specific foods, or the time-restricted eating window of intermittent fasting. And I also want to make a quick caveat here. I'm not saying that there are no health benefits whatsoever to intermittent fasting. I know there are some people who have finally been able to have a healthier relationship with food in their body as a result of intermittent fasting. However, as someone with a history of an eating disorder, anyone who has ever dealt with an eating disorder or disordered eating has no business trying to do intermittent fasting. Don't even go near it. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Get rid of your 6-foot social distancing. Don't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. I mean, I cannot drive that point home enough. If you have a disordered relationship with food in any way, if food is stressful or distressing to you, do not intermittent fast. It is not a healthy option. Now, again, not a doctor. That is not official medical advice. It is just what I have learned, again, from my 18 years of experience, and thinking that, oh, I might be able to try this, and then realizing, oh crap, now I'm in a spiral of relapse. How do I get out of here? So there's that. So intuitive, spontaneous, without requiring conscious thought, fasting, the willful refrainment from eating, as my notes are falling off the table. Okay, so as we talked about, we're going to go over some of the major problems with this here. And we already mentioned the biggest issue is that it's co-opting the language of the intuitive eating and anti-diet movement, which is so wrong, so wrong, so wrong. Like we mentioned, first thing, it's tone deaf, co-opting the intuitive eating with diet culture, because intuitive eating is inherently anti-diet culture. It's tone deaf because not only did they release this book about this thing that cannot exist, this intuitive fasting, which cannot be a real thing. Not only did they do that, they decided to promote it during National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. Can you even fathom what goes on in someone's head, especially someone who claims to be a doctor and know about stuff, who should realize that eating disorders are a huge issue, are, I believe, the second most fatal mental illness, or only behind opioid addiction, I believe. Don't quote me on that. That could be an old statistic. But you'd think that someone would be cognizant of the fact that, maybe National Eating Disorders Awareness Week would be a bad time to release this book telling people how to starve themselves and sending them into a disordered relationship with food. I mean, seriously, guys, seriously, who thinks that's a good idea? Who thinks, here's all of these people who have a disordered relationship with food online this week trying to get help. What can I do? Oh, I know. I'm going to release a book that tells them not to eat, that tells them to starve themselves, that endorses disordered behavior as if it is normal and healthy, and it is not. So the fact that this was released during NEDA week just absolutely grinds my gears, for lack of a better term. But it not only does it make me angry about how harmful it is, it is flat out unethical to try to root intuitive eating in restriction. They cannot coexist. Restriction and fasting and intuitive eating cannot coexist. They can't do it. You can't do it. You have one or the other. And if you're going with the fasting, you're not intuitive eating. Chances are you're not on the good road to recovery either. Moving forward, because I labored on that point a little longer than I intended, but like we said, this could not only trigger people who already have eating disorders, but something like this that promotes people to eat in an energy deficit, that promotes people to exclude certain nutrients, certain macros, certain food groups, or to greatly restrict them or limit them, whether that's within a time period or within certain nutritional guidelines themselves. It not only triggers people who already have disorders, but people who have the predisposition to disordered eating. When they are in an energy deficit, meaning when they are consuming less calories than their body actually needs to survive, and not only survive, but thrive and actually live and enjoy life, being in an energy deficit can immediately, and I'm not even joking, it almost overnight can immediately trigger an eating disorder in someone who is predisposed. So, unethical, harmless, dangerous, will trigger EDS for many, trigger many people who already have eating disorders. And, eating in an energy deficit is ultimately encouraged by any fasting program, just by the nature of it. So the fact that diet culture is trying to repackage dieting, because they know that people don't like the word dieting now. People don't like to say, "Oh, I'm on a diet," because that's not something that is cool and good to do in society nowadays. Even though dieting culture, gathering my thoughts, even though diet culture is more prevalent than it's ever been, they're just getting more deceptive and more conniving and finding more ways to change up the language to try to convince you that that's not what's going on, when it's exactly what's going on. They're exactly trying to keep you stuck in diet culture. They don't want you to leave because you're going to give them the money. We're going to get to that part. Something we talked about here, kind of touched on this when we were talking about the title and the definitions of intuitive and fasting, but intuitive fasting is literally impossible. I was channeling my inner Rob Lowe, Chris Traeger there. Literally impossible. Intuitive fasting is literally impossible. It's okay. Here's something for you. It's like intuitive fasting. That's like saying, I've invented a program that allows you to be awake and sleep at the same time. I've invented a program that, pardon the food analogy, it's just one that came to mind. I've invented a program that allows you to be vegan, but you can still eat meat. I've invented a program that allows you to do this action and then also do the exact opposite thing at the exact same time. No, it doesn't make sense. You're going to believe someone who can tell you they can let you sleep and be awake at the same time? No, it's kind of an extreme example, but that's what we're talking about here. You cannot combine intuition with fasting. Co-opting, like I said, the non-diet language, what they're doing with that, they're trying to co-opt that language because intuitive eating has such power and the anti-diet movement is gaining such traction that they have to try to steal our language so they can make money off disordered eating and off people deciding, I think starving myself would be a good idea. And the thing is, guys, you literally cannot have food and body peace while you're restricting or while you're fasting. You cannot have food peace. You cannot have body peace. And fasting also, of course, implies eating when you're, or not eating when you're not hungry. Now, okay, I said that backwards, guys. My brain mixed up all my words on the paper. Fasting implies not eating when you are hungry, which is ignoring your body's hunger cues that we were talking about, which is ignoring your body's intuition. And another caveat, like we said, you do not get a pass if you have messed up hunger cues with an eating disorder. You still got to eat on schedule. You still have to follow your meal plan. Eventually, it will normalize. The bottom line of this section is there is nothing intuitive about fasting. Yes, I see it in the chat there. It is absolutely an oxymoron. Intuitive fasting is one of the biggest oxymorons I have ever heard. Ever. Let's see. And I just wanted to point out that there, again, nothing intuitive about fasting. And even in the Bible, fasting isn't intuitive, meaning not requiring conscious thought. It's not intuitive. There are reasons that we fast, but it's always intentional. Reasons for fasting in the Bible include things like to strengthen prayer, to seek God's guidance, to express grief, to seek deliverance or protection, to express repentance and return to God, to humble yourself before God, to express concern for the work of God, to minister to the needs of others, to overcome temptation and dedicate yourself to God, and to express yourself through love and worship. A lot of things that fasting in that way, that the way the Bible tells us, can be done that is helpful for those purposes and others similar to them. However, it is always done with intention. It is never meant to be something that tears you down. And if you have a disordered relationship with food, fasting is not a safe thing you can try to do, period. It will not bring you closer to God unless you've already healed that disordered relationship and it's no longer a disordered relationship at that point. So just wanted to point that out there. Even in the Bible, it's not intuitive. Yes, Jesus fasted, but he planned to fast. He was tempted, and it was an intentional decision that he fasted very intentionally. Not an intuitive thing, not something that requires no conscious thought. Oh, goodness, guys. I mean, kind of along those same lines, what kind of cracks me up here is this intuitive fasting book is being sold as like this repackaged book of eating disordered behaviors and being marketed as this new age handbook slash Bible of health. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I want to say, I'm not going to bring the post back up here because, again, I don't want to intentionally trigger anyone, but I do want to point out that even the Instagram post that Gwyneth shared about this book that I showed at the very beginning, even that Instagram post, she has posed herself so strategically. It made me laugh out loud in I was flabbergasted because it's so obvious she is doing a body check pose. If you are not familiar for if you're not familiar with what a body check pose is, it is something that people who have disordered relationships with food or eating disorders often, and I mean, honestly, diet culture has people do this in general, even if you don't have a completely disordered relationship with food or a full-blown eating disorder of any kind. And caveat, like I said before, an eating disorder is an eating disorder is an eating disorder. Same with disordered eating is disordered eating, all equally important, all equally harmful and dangerous, all equally affecting your health, all equally worth seeking support and help and recovery. I wanted to add that in there. But the Instagram post, back to that, she was posting a very, 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 very blatantly obvious body check way to highlight the thinness of her arm in the middle of her picture to try to subliminally get people in and say, hey, if you just starve yourself for 4 weeks on this program like I did, then you can look like this too. And I can't even the fact that even the Instagram post had her posing in a very obvious body check pose to highlight the thinness of her arm blew me away. I thought we were so far past this. I thought, at least on social media, where people, yeah, they share they share realness, they share their highlights. Okay, guys, here we go. Social media, often a highlight reel, but there's a bigger push toward authentic content. So in a world where we're moving towards authenticity, aren't we past the point where a celebrity who is in this world, who knows this stuff, aren't we past the point where they're going to post these very blatantly obvious body checks? And I saw in the chat there, yes, a couple things. I was going down. Thank you, guys. I'm so glad you were on board. I had a feeling y'all would be. It says, thanks for clarifying. You can't mix the two, spiritual fasting and weight loss fasting. Absolutely not. Will weight loss occasionally happen as a result of legitimate spiritual fasting? It might, but that's never the goal. And it's also not something that's necessarily meant to last, because that's not the reason you're fasting. You're fasting, if you're doing it for religious reasons, for all of the reasons we talked about, and then others in that same realm. And then, yeah, so many young girls are affected by celebrities and by other people. And I don't know if this is what you were saying, that so many young girls are affected by, Cindy, but they are, when celebrities, and I'm talking about TikTokers, I'm talking about influencers on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, although I don't think any young girls are on Facebook nowadays, and then celebrities, and then anyone who has a public platform, a public presence, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for posting content when you have that kind of influence that very obviously could have an extremely negative effect on and an impact on the mindset of these impressionable minds that are following you. So that blew me away. Okay, that's how she said. That's exactly what she meant. Yes, all of these. And guys, I'll tell you, I think I said this toward the beginning, that I have defended Gwyneth for so many years through so many things. And you know what? I'll still tell Roger, hey, guess what? I love you 3000 because I like Pepper Potts. However, Gwyneth and Will Cole, this intuitive fasting book, I hate 3000. That was so cheesy, and I don't even care. I hate it, 3000. I don't even want to give it that. I don't even want to give it that Iron Man reference because it doesn't deserve it. But moving on, I wanted to mention a quote that Will Cole actually posted on the post or on a comment that Will Cole left on Gwyneth's post about this. The comment that he wrote said, let's elevate the world, my friend. I hope this book speaks life into the reader and infuses their wellness journey with food peace and body peace, shame dissolved in grace. Have you ever heard such a load of BS? And I mean, belief system, BS belief system, that's their belief system. That's a load of BS. That's what we're saying it means, at least. No, seriously though, saying that intuitive fasting, which again cannot exist, it is an oxymoron, it is paradoxical. He's saying that that is going to help people along their wellness journey achieve food and body peace, and that it's going to be shame dissolved in grace. No, no, it's not. This whole book, this whole concept is a diet. Diets breed shame. Intuitive fasting, diet. Diets breed shame. My hands are going all over the place because I'm getting too excited here. But it blew me away that he's thinking, okay, well, you're going to do this restrictive process and it's going to give you, you're going to dissolve your shame by giving yourself, no, you're not going to give yourself grace because diets breed shame, period. And a very important note that I just want to talk about, especially since the theme of Needle Week this year is everybody has a seat at the table, specifically focusing on voices that traditionally haven't been as, whose stories haven't been as told, or whose stories haven't been told as much in the eating disorder community, in the recovery community, whether that's people of color, whether that is people with disabilities, whether that is caregivers who are dealing with eating disorders or people who are caring for someone who has an eating disorder. The goal of Needle Week this year, everybody has a seat at the table. Everybody has a seat at the table. It's meant to highlight a lot of those experiences that unfortunately we don't have a whole lot of, because a lot of the exposure still even today is very stereotypical, but the tide is changing fast. But what I'm saying here is, the point that I'm about to make is very, very appropriate with this year's theme, and it is this whole thing. Gwyneth's post, the fact, something that I'm going to tell you that she and Will Cole said back and forth, all of this stuff reeks of white privilege. And guess what? I realize this is white skin. I realize I have white skin. But here's the thing. If everybody doesn't talk about white privilege, including white people, how are we ever going to get past it being an issue that is pervasive in literally every single aspect of our society, including nutrition, including disordered eating, including celebrity influencers who are feeding you flat out lies, telling you not to feed yourself, which is kind of ironic that I chose that wording. But anyway, there's so much food insecurity during a pandemic right now, and it disproportionately is affecting communities that are primarily made up of people of color and other minority communities. And the fact that one, they posted this book during NEDA Week, National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. 2, they posted this during the pandemic where there is so much food insecurity and a lot of people don't even have the money to buy their weekly or monthly groceries. It's just so tone deaf, so tone deaf. I can't even, I can't get into that point anymore because that, again, a whole other topic for a whole other video, but that's what it is. It reeks of white privilege. There's so much going on right now. And the fact that Gwyneth, well, okay, let's get to those quotes and I'll come back to what I was going to say. I was watching a short little video of an interaction between Gwyneth and Will Cole, and I wanted to read a few quotes back and forth. First, when Gwyneth asks, she says, a lot of other intermittent fasting programs, oh, hold on, my screen went on me here, okay, so Gwyneth said, a lot of other intermittent fasting programs focus on calories and calorie restriction. Yours is this high-fat, low-carb diet. So is there something special about the combination of time restriction and this sort of high-fat, low-carb diet that you found worked particularly well together? And Will Cole, who I'm purposely not calling him Dr. Will Cole because he is just using that to try to get, what's the word? Not credence. What's the word for when you trust someone? I'm blanking on the word, guys. The word for credibility. That's the word, credibility. Is that related to credence? I think it is. Anyway, I'm calling Will Cole because that's his name. His response to that was, they work synergistically to amplify themselves because both the clean ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting increase beta hydroxybutyrate. So you're not fasting your way out of a poor diet. When you're breaking your fast, you're continuing those benefits. And I put a little note in my things like science, maybe, because the science on all of this is not really there. Yes, there's a lot of science on intermittent fasting. The science on his particular program, not really there. Certainly not at minimum 140 studies that have been done to prove it is accurate. Um, and then he goes on to continue to say, the way I advocated in intuitive fasting is a cyclical ketotarian approach. Okay, brah. So many women do better with not always being in ketosis. So they'll increase their clean carbs around their period or increase their clean carbs around ovulation time. He says you can have any variation of the ketogenic diet as long as it's high fat, moderate protein, and low carb. Then he goes to emphasize that what he's meaning there is it can be a ketotarian, which is primarily plant-based version of the keto diet. It can be vegan keto or it can be pescatarian keto. And what I want to go through here in all of these things where they're saying this is not a diet, let's look at all of the diet language. Okay. Gwyneth says a lot of intermittent fasting programs focus on calories, calorie restriction. Yours is high fat, low carb diet, time restriction. Let's see, ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, cyclical. Okay, what the cyclical ketotarian approach? Can't even begin to try to make sense out of that. And what the main point I want to drive home here is he says the way I advocate it is that you can do this. You can have any variation of the ketogenic diet as long as you do this, this, and this. Which the irony in that statement, the irony is saying you can do any variation of this as long as you follow these exact rules. Rules, variation. Set rules, variation. Boring, spice of life. Which one are you choosing? I'm over here. Anyway, I just want to point that out. They keep promoting this as this non-diet. It's not a diet. It's not a diet, except you know what? It's a diet. That's exactly what it is. It is exactly a diet. And they're using horrible diet language and just trying to, like I said, co-opt the intuitive eating movement for their own purposes and to try to earn money off of people who are desperate and at risk and at danger of developing disorders, especially when they are in the middle of a pandemic and quarantined at home often. So moving on, this is something I wanted to mention about Gwyneth, and I don't know if you all know this, but she says that she had COVID back when it first was kind of getting in the U.S. And her quote on this says, "I had COVID-19 early on, and it left me with some long tail fatigue and brain fog." And I'm going to stop there for just a second and say that if anyone understands long tail, long-term fatigue and brain fog, it is someone with a chronic illness. It is someone with Lyme disease. It is someone with fibromyalgia. It is someone with chronic fatigue syndrome. It is someone with cancer. It is someone with heart disease. It is someone with arthritis. It is someone with lupus. It is someone with Crohn's. It is anyone who has a chronic disease. And those are just the physical. It also applies to chronic mental illnesses. If anybody understands long-term brain fog, it's us. If anybody has tried to do everything they can to solve these symptoms that just won't go away, it's us. It's those of us who are living this life. So that's another reason this just kind of annoys me, because she's touting this is this cure for her when, I mean, honestly, girl, you have no idea. You have no idea. And like I said, I've respected Gwyneth in the past. I've even defended her when I probably shouldn't have on some of the more out there health claims. But again, not defending this. Hate it 3000. Okay, so the rest of that quote that she was saying, though, so she said, "I've COVID-19 early on, left me with some long tail fatigue and brain fog. In January, I had some tests done that showed really high levels of inflammation in my body. So I turned to one of the smartest experts." Sorry, I had to laugh on that. "One of the smartest experts I know in this space, the functional medicine practitioner, Dr. Will Cole. After he saw all my labs, he explained that this was a case where the road to healing was going to be longer than usual." Which, okay, all of that sounds well and good, because when you do have something that causes long-term effects, it is by nature a longer healing road, because you didn't get sick overnight. You're not going to heal overnight. However, his answer for her, his solution to her long-term leftover COVID symptoms, was intuitive fasting. I'm looking around to see if there's anybody that thinks that's a good idea. Anybody in the chat? I don't think so. I don't think anybody thinks that's a good idea. I don't think anybody thinks that starving yourself is going to help you beat COVID. So, and I know that the way I just said it was a major simplification, but you get my point here. I get very, very, very frustrated when anyone downplays COVID, when anyone tries to say, whether it's about COVID or any other illness, here's exactly what you need to do. It's what worked for me. Here's this nutritional thing that is going to deprive you, but it's going to work because it worked for me. So it's definitely going to work for you. So you should definitely try it because I'm a big time celebrity influencer and I'm telling you to try it because you know it works. Here's a hint. If someone has to constantly tell you, it works, it works, it works, I promise, believe me, believe me, believe me, believe me, it works, not a diet, not a diet, not a diet, healthy, 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 not a diet, healthy, believe me, believe me, believe me. That's a big red flag to say, or that's a big red flag that says, probably shouldn't believe them. Probably shouldn't believe the things that they feel like they have to continue to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat to the point where it seems like they're almost trying to convince themselves. You ever get that impression looking online? So you read somebody's caption, they're sharing these things and you're like, sis, are you just trying to convince yourself? Because I think literally everyone reading this knows that that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. Who are you trying to convince here? So the fact that this is being promoted as what helped her get over her long-term COVID symptoms, among all of the other problems we've discussed, again, really grinds my gears. I think of Peter Griffin every time I say that on Family Guy. Anyway, okay, so I already mentioned that I'm not against functional medicine. I just don't think that this means Will Cole knows what he's doing in this space, in this nutritional space, because he doesn't, at least not with what he's promoting in this book. This is not something that is science-backed. It's not something that's healthy. He has no authority to speak on this. And like I said, I have great respect for my chiropractor. I don't go to my chiropractor for my nutritional advice. I have great respect for functional medicine doctors. I also don't go to them for a complete nutritional advice plan because like they obviously they're going to have some nutritional knowledge, but there are people who literally learn just nutrition stuff. There are dietitians, there are nutritionists, there are even integrative nutritionists, holistic nutritionists who are certified that are such a better option than average Joe chiropractor who just happens to be a celebrity chiropractor who writes on Goop. So yeah, so he's giving dangerously harmful nutrition advice that he does not have the qualification or authority to give. And unfortunately, when people like Gwyneth, and then I saw Diane Keaton in her comments endorsing as well, which rolling my eyes, giving the biggest eye roll and shaking my head ever. There were many other celebrities, not many, actually, most of the comments were along the lines of what I've been saying. There were a few others, usually celebrities, that were chiming in saying, "Oh, love you, Dr. Will, can't wait to read the book." And I'm thinking, Diane Keaton, my opinion of you just went way down into the ground as well, and as did any other celebrity or anyone that was commenting crap like that. But talking about, okay, I just going back to I'm not even functional medicine, but that doesn't mean that Will Cole knows what he's doing here. He's a chiropractor who's giving dangerously harmful nutrition advice. He does not have the qualification to give. On his website, it actually says word for word, "I do not practice medicine or treat diseases or medical conditions." Okay. And then a quote from his book description, a quote from the description of this book. It says, "With his fresh new approach to fasting, best-selling author and functional medicine expert Dr. Will Cole gives us the ability to take control of our hunger, making intermittent fasting intuitive." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? And we're not even halfway through this quote. It says, "You'll get in touch with your instinctive eating patterns and become healthier and more mindful about how and why you eat. When your body is out of balance, it can be very difficult to discern what it needs to build vibrant wellness. Intuitive fasting will show you how to find metabolic flexibility. And once you've reached metabolic flexibility," which is a buzzword that I guarantee you he could not explain and back up with science right now. Hold on, sorry. We'll show you how to know. "And once you've reached metabolic flexibility, you can intuitively trust your body to function at optimal capacity, whether you've eaten 6 minutes ago or 6 hours ago." Now, some of that sounded on board. Some of that sounded kosher. Some of that sounded right on. However, that's the danger, because he's using just enough of the intuitive eating food freedom language to make his repackaged disordered diet program seem healthy and appealing and like a good choice. Especially when I highlight that he said, "Take control of our hunger, making intermittent fasting intuitive." I know I paused when I read that the first time, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But again, fasting cannot be intuitive. If you are putting guidelines on the time frame that you can eat, that's not intuitive, because your hunger cues are going to get active at some point in this time when you're not supposed to eat, either over there or over here. but you're like, oh no, I can only eat in this window. Well, then that's not intuitive. It's not intuitive eating. The whole reason that people go into intuitive eating, and one of the basic tenets of it is you don't do it after you have reached a place of metabolic flexibility or whatever that means. You don't do it after you've reached a place of peace with food or peace with your body. You do it regardless of not feeling peace about those things and taking the steps that you know are going to eventually lead you to peace. And guess what? Intuitive fasting, not only not a thing, but it is not going to lead you to this peace that he thinks that you're going to have. It just doesn't work that way. If you're depriving yourself, if you're restricting yourself in any way, you're putting a big restriction on your life, on your ability to enjoy things. Guys, it makes me so sad. It makes me almost want to cry thinking about the number of people I did see comment and say, hey, I've already pre-ordered this. Hey, I've already got it coming. Hey, I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to try it out. This seems like it's going to be the answer to all my problems. Guys, a diet is never the answer to your problems. Weight loss, never going to solve your problems. If there's a medical reason that a doctor helps you get to a specific weight, whichever direction, you need to listen to your doctor. But crazy, I use that term. Actually, I'm not going to use that term. I don't like using the word crazy because I feel like it's very dismissive and invalidating of people who do struggle with real mental health issues. But it is just, makes me so sad that all of this nonsense, all of this ridiculous nonsense is being touted as true, is being touted as healthy, is being touted as good, and is being praised by celebrities who are revered for their physique, for their thin bodies. Celebrities who are loved for that and who people model their behavior after because they think that whatever the celebrity's results were, that's exactly what's going to happen to you. But guess what? Gwyneth Paltrow has millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, more than I'm ever going to have, at least on this earth. But you know, my treasure's in heaven anyway, so I don't care. She can have whatever money she wants because dieting is still not going to bring her happiness. Fasting is still not going to bring her happiness. Fad diets, diet culture, never going to bring anyone happiness. When's the last time you were on a diet and you actually felt happy? When's the last time you restricted your food and actually felt genuine joy? Have you ever been on a diet and not been completely obsessed with either what you're eating, what you're not eating, or when you can eat or when you can't eat? What about that sounds peaceful? Nothing to me. Nothing about that sounds peaceful to me. And I know I'm not alone. I'm kind of, hold on, give me just a second, guys. I need to put this cold pack on my head. I have been overheating and my head is hurting, and I was hoping to make it through the stream without having to put it on, but yeah, sorry, had to put it on. As we're wrapping this up here, as we're getting ready to land the plane, I just want to go over some key points again. Intuitive fasting, not a thing. Not in my house, to quote Dikembe Mutombo. Not in my house. I actually made a reel with a song based on his saying of that about this, announcing this live stream today. It's not something that exists. It's an oxymoron. It's paradoxical. It is harmful and dangerous, both to people who are predisposed to disordered eating and to those who already struggle with disordered eating. It is unethical and harmful to share it, especially during a week where there are millions of people online and just in the community in general trying to connect for recovery-oriented devices, for actual healthy content, for actual recovery positive, actual anti-diet content. And when this is being promoted with the same language that intuitive eating practitioners and professionals use for their very genuine evidence, science-backed concept and philosophy. Okay, guys. So we were talking about brain fog a minute ago. I started that sentence, got halfway through, added a little caveat, and forgot where the sentence was going. Brain fog! But I think we're just kind of wrapping it up here. There's nothing remotely good about posting this in general, ever, but especially not during Eating Disorders Awareness Week when so many people are actively seeking out support, actively seeking out help, actively seeking out recovery, and then they're confronted with all of this. They're confronted with this kind of crap. They're telling them they're trying their hardest to fight this monster in their head every day that says, you are not enough. You do not deserve food. You ate yesterday, you shouldn't eat today. You ate breakfast, you don't deserve lunch, you don't deserve dinner. You can't let anybody see you eat. You can't eat by yourself. You can't. What sounds peaceful? What sounds peaceful about dangling this on the internet, promoting it during a week when people are trying to get content that is conducive to their recovery? What what is the smart decision about this? All of these are rhetorical questions. There is nothing good, there is nothing smart, there is nothing right, there is nothing helpful about this. Intuitive fasting is not a thing. There's a book that exists with that title, but it literally makes no sense. Fasting requires intention. Intuition is no conscious thought. Staying awake, staying asleep, same time, restricting, peace. No, I mean, peace and deprivation, no. So I wanted to just, I'm going to type in the chat here a few names of people who I should have found their YouTube channels and had the links ready to go, but I'm sending names in the chat of people who are in this sphere. And Evelyn Tribble, she is on Instagram, just at her regular name. And I'm also sharing Jennifer Rollin on Instagram, and there are many others that I'll share throughout time as well. But in the interest of time for the video today, I'm not going to try to go through now because it's the only ones that I had typed down. And of course, my brain is blanking on the other ones that I thought I would just remember. But I would go check their content out. Also, Tabitha Farrar has podcast, YouTube channel, and is on social media. Excellent stuff about all of this. I definitely recommend all of those resources, including Evelyn's book on intuitive eating, which started this entire movement, which is so powerful and which I refuse to let be taken over by diet culture BS belief system. Just not going to do it. Just not going to do it. To quote Will Ferrell parodying George H.W. Bush on SNL, not going to do it. Not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Oh boy, guys, we have been here this long. We're landing the plane for real this time. Thank you for coming. I hope that if you have someone in your life who needs to see this, who needs these reminders, who you think might need the reminders, even if you don't know for sure that they do, I hope that you share this with them, or I hope that you just share with them the information that you learn by watching. I appreciate you tuning in so much. I hope that if you enjoy this kind of content and you want other stuff about this, or chronic illness-wise, mental health-wise, all of the content's going to be coming once I'm able to get on a more regular schedule. Health has been preventing that a little lately, but that's why I wanted to get this one up today when I knew I could, and I knew I had a topic that came in my mind and that I was extremely passionate about. And yeah, so if you want to stick around, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss live streams or other uploads. And if you like this content and like the information, go ahead and hit that like button down below, because that helps me out quite a bit on the channel. Don't like begging for it, but I'm going to ask you to press the like button if you got anything out of this. And if not, no biggie. You don't have to. Again, no pressure. But I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you watching this, whether you're live or whether you're watching it on the replay. And I just want to encourage you, you can have food freedom. You can have body peace. You can have peace with your relationship with food and diet culture. You can ditch diet culture. Hashtag ditch diet culture. Diet culture dropout. But you can't do that through fasting and restriction and deprivation. So while it is possible to reach that place of peace, it doesn't happen from a place of deprivation. It doesn't happen from a place of forcing yourself into something that is not what your body naturally wants to do. And that is what I'm going to say on the topic. And it looks like I got a little laugh in the chat there. I'm assuming that was on my SNL impression there. But yeah, again, thank you guys. And hopefully I will see you again soon. And remember, fasting and restriction is not how you get health or happiness or joy or at all peace. Diets breed shame. If you want to avoid shame, avoid the diets. It's not quite as simple as that, but also, yeah, it is as simple as that in this sphere. All right, see you guys next time.